All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Unity Center of Light. Today is February the 9th, 2025, and we want to welcome you all here. At this point, I only see one face that I don't recognize real well, and that's Sue Ann. Sue Ann, if you're new with us, welcome, and if you're not, welcome back. Um, and if you should want to receive any of our regular communications, you can just put your name in the chat and we'll make sure you get signed up for our e-newsletters. So welcome everybody. Today we have, I'm April May, just in case there's anybody who doesn't know. I think most folks do. I'm a licensed Unity teacher here at Unity Center of Light, and I'll be facilitating our service today. We have a lot of great things coming up. We're going to do a thing or two a little bit differently. We have our guest speaker, Reverend Richard, with us. And Bonnie is also going to be helping to facilitate the service. So I think what I'd like to do, if you're all okay with that, is start out by sharing our mission and our foundation statements. So if you can see that, please join in with me for the mission of Unity Center of Light is to empower individuals to express their indwelling divine identity. We teach there's a power within each of us far greater than anything that exists outside of us. Amen. And our foundation statement, there is only one power and one presence active in my life and affairs, God the good, omnipotent. And so it is. And now I'm going to ask Bonnie if she would be willing to share the daily word with us for today.
All right. Thank you, April. Today's daily word is entitled Power. And the affirmation reads, I have the power to choose my thoughts and direct my life. Feeling my power from within means I am grounded in spiritual truth and understanding. I speak my mind with calm certainty and change my mind whenever I choose. I live in a state of inner security and mastery. If I wish to make changes, I take dominion of myself and have faith in my innate power as a spiritual being. In the past, I may have looked outside of myself to feel powerful, taking on another's beliefs or affiliating with something outside myself. Now I understand true power comes from within. I take dominion over my thoughts and feelings. I live my truth in confidence, knowing my thoughts derive from divine ideas. One with God, I have the power to create my life. And the scripture reading for today is taken from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline. So, my Unity family, you have the power to choose your thoughts and direct your life.
Thank you, Bonnie. Perfect daily word for today, since we're going to be talking about some of the other powers as well, especially the powers of strength and love. And today our guest speaker is Reverend Richard Pacheco. Most of you know him since he's visited with us off and on over the last year, every few months or every other month. And I just want to say that I was introduced to Richard through the Unity Urban Ministerial School and also his participation now in the Unity Eastern Region Board. He's also been a presenter at our fall conference. And please join me in giving him a heartfelt, wide open welcome. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, April, and everyone here. I'm truly grateful again to be here, and I just love, being a part of this community. And welcome to fabulous February. And I love the month of February because it's one of those months where, when I was with my old Unity up in PA, I used to always recommend that this would be Friendship Month because of the fact that it's celebrated so much. So if you've attended other unities, some unities celebrate each of the 12 powers of man within a month. So this month would be strength. But then we can't forget that February leads us into Valentine's Day. So now we have to look at the power of love. But most importantly, it is also Black History Month. And we can't forget to celebrate all the wonderful Black people that we have and our African American people, even in your own church, your senior minister and your, ministry team there. My Reverend Sandra over at UUMS, and so many other people in February. So imagine bringing people to your congregation and just celebrating all of this together. So as always, before we get started, let's just close our eyes real quick. And let's just enter into a moment of prayer as we know that we're here together, centered in this energy, centered in this love. And together, with open hearts and open mind, we allow ourselves to take in today's lesson. And not only take it in, but know that we're going to take it, absorb it, learn from it, and express it back out, because even though I may hold the title, we are all ministers in this day and age as we go out as people need us. And we know it is, and so it is, and so we let it be as we begin our lesson today, and we affirm this with amen. So as I said, we're going to be talking about those divine powers of strength. So in Unity, we understand that strength is more than just physical strength. It is a spiritual quality that empowers us to overcome challenges and face uncertainties with faith and resilience. Now, again, we tap into faith. We know that faith would have been January. It's our first power. It's that knowing what's already out there and moving in that space. But we know that we teeter. We have a human experience that we're going through now. And that human side of us sometimes just isn't sure. One of my mentors used to always tell me, he's like, remember, Rich, when we move in faith, you must move completely in faith, because 1 ounce of doubt, you're out. So we are already moving in faith and into that area of strength where we continue. And we know that we say it as part of the power of strength, it is to stay the course. It's to know that we're moving forward, that we don't want to look back. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, says, strength is the power of the mind. It lays dormant until we choose to call upon it. So when we understand our mission today, when we understand what we want to do, and we stay that course, even when we begin to teeter, we tend to move forward. Our other co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, actually says something similar, but she says the power of strength within you is sufficient for all the demands you will ever make upon it. And with this assurance, we can navigate through life's storms, knowing that we possess an infinite source of strength within us. In fact, if you were here for my last talk, one of the songs I chose was called Gift of the Storms by Faith Rivera, which talks about how as we move in faith and in the storms, that we're looking for those gifts because we keep moving forward. A number of years ago, I gave a talk talking about the bridge, and my daughter used to tell me she wanted me to post it, because of the fact that we talk about how we know that what we're looking for is on the other side of the bridge, but many of us go halfway across and then decide, nope, we're going back, knowing that just that few final steps would have gotten us where we are. Even in our sacred text, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, which reminds us that it's not only our human experience, but that divine spark within ourselves that gives us that strength to move forward. So when we choose to tap into the power of strength, when we choose to know that that's something divine within ourselves. We can find examples all over the place. You know, the Power Up, a book on the 12 powers as well, talks about how we have the underdeveloped and overdeveloped in strength. You know, underdeveloped in strength says we never complete anything. We keep going, moving forward. We say we're moving in strength and then say, okay, enough is enough. This challenge is too hard. When we know that, as Philippians said, I can do things through Christ, when that inner spirit within ourselves, call it intuition, call it that Christ nature, Buddha nature, whatever it is to you, you call upon it and know that you can move forward. You're not alone. But many of us choose to move back, and we underdevelop that power. Finally, an overdeveloped is where we become stagnant. We become stubborn. We become that, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it this way, that way. And we push through and we keep pushing. We blame it on strength. But in reality, it's just our fear of saying, wait a minute, something's telling me through maybe the power of wisdom or the power of will that we need to change. But because we want it a certain way, I think it was Edwin Gaines who says, I know when I'm angry when people don't do what Queen Edwin says to do. It's the same power here. It's to find that spiritual center of strength. And as we continue to talk about Black history, let's use some of the examples, such as a Harriet Tubman. Now, there's many movies out there, choose whichever you want, but history already tells us, as a remarkable Black woman in history, shows that strength. Born into slavery, Tubman escaped and actually started to lead hundreds of enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Her unwavering determination and inner strength allowed her to face immense danger and adversity, ultimately becoming a beacon of hope and liberation for countless individuals. So again, a perfect example of history in making that power of strength that's within each of us. And we know that for her to pull that off, she had to tap into the faith that she can do this. She had to tap into that strength when she was in those dangerous situations. And she even had to put that strength into people. She had to be that example. So as I said, in February, we saw also celebrate the power of love. And there are actually some spiritual centers out there who move love to February to kind of coincide with, you know, the power in the Valentine's Day. And we know that love, the greatest commandment, is the very essence of our being. Love has the power to heal, transform, and most important, unite or unify. Eric Butterworth says that love is not something you do, love is being. When we embody love, we bring forth its healing and transformative power into the world. In this day and age, let me ask you a question. I like to equate the power of love to seeing through the eyes of God. And in this days and age, and through our new, what's going on in the world now, all over the place, whether it's our new political climate, whether it's the wars going on, can we see God within this? Can we find that unification power to see love through this? Using strength and love, how do we move through this? Myrtle Fillmore spoke about love by saying there is nothing that is invincible when we put our whole trust into love. Trust and love empowers us to face any situation with compassion, understanding, and grace. So once again, just looking at our climate now, can we find the love somewhere in here? Can we see past what's going on to push us forward? In our own lives, are there things that are challenging you right now? Things that we equate to something happening to us, that victim mentality. When we look for how do we raise our consciousness from that victimhood into that victor vessel, and then finally verity as we rise in consciousness. Our main power is that of love. And not only love of what we see outside, but most importantly, the love of ourselves, which may come in the point of forgiveness. and forgiving ourselves. April was kind enough to share an event that happened with Edwin Gaines recently, and I've read her books, and it never dawned to me, reminded one of her exercises I started doing it, which is she actually writes, I forgive myself completely 70 times a day for 7 days. And we know the biblical story of Jesus, forgive 7 times 70. And I realized that as I'm on day 4, actually, I think I'm going into day 5 today, how lighter I feel because it's a repetitive affirmation. And I'm repeating that self of loving myself no matter what I feel. Now we go through, again, chemicalization. We feel that upper go, oh no, this can't be right. This can't be happening. And then we have to tap into that love. Excuse me. So when we look at our biblical references, again, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 knows the Apostle Paul briefly describes love as love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it does not proud, it does not dishonor other, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no and always hopes and always perseveres. And again, we see these on posters everywhere. We see it posted everywhere. But how many times have we actually sat there and realized that when we take it away from the emotion and make it the action, we're literally telling ourselves, our love is shown through our patience. Our love is shown when we show kindness. Our love doesn't envy because we love someone. As someone who started speaking way before I even knew a unity existed, I used to watch people I used to help and they go ahead and accelerate themselves. And part of me was envious because it was, well, how did they get there? And I'm still trying to be a speaker, And love said, no, love the fact that you are a part of this person's life and look at what this person is blessing other people for. We don't boast. We're not proud. It does not dishonor others, but always perseveres. We also reflect again as we move back into our Black History Month, the words of Martin Luther King, love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. So rather than hate, rather than point fingers, let's find that love within ourselves and within that person. It challenges us to love and embrace love as a transformative force in our lives and in our community. And of course, Dr. King's legacy is a testament to the enduring power of love in the pursuit of justice, equality, and peace. And as I said, we talked about the power of love and the power of strength. And we celebrate Black History Month. And as we celebrate this month, we reflect on those two powers throughout history. So our biggest figures are Rosa Parks, often referred to as the mother of civil rights. The civil rights movement, demonstrated the power of love and nonviolent resistance when she refused to give up the seat in the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, igniting a movement that ultimately led to significant changes in laws and how the attitude of people and how things were seen. And Parks' acts of courage, rooted in love and strength, continues to inspire us and stand up for justice and equality. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison for his activism against apartheid in South Africa. And despite all the hardships, came out of there and said he can't hold hatred in his heart. He'd still be in prison. And showed full heart full of love and forgiveness for the leadership in what he went through. And his leadership encourages, again, a thing that happens, a thing that we decide to happen. He could have hated for all the things he went through, but he chose love and forgiveness because he knew that if he stayed in that space, he'd constantly be in prison. We have heroes in my own world. We talk about a Reverend Ruth Mosley who started UUMS. And I read her story and it inspired me to want to grow with a unity movement somewhere, whether it is remotely, whether it is in person, and grow. I took a liking of helping teenagers because I always believe they're in that stage between that adulthood and that childhood. I still want to be a child, but I still want to be an adult. And they're in that confused stage. And I said, if we can tap into them, what we learn now as adults, if I would have been taught this as a teenager, what kind of world could we be seeing right now? But it takes love and strength to take that together. So we talk about our unity community is also a living testament of the power of strength and love. When we come together in unity, we create a supportive environment for each other. We hold ourselves in strength, we hold ourselves in love, and the strength of our community lies in the collective commitment to embody the principles of love, compassion, and understanding. And that's why we come together. We don't always call it a Sunday service, we call it a Sunday celebration service, because we come here not to wallow in what's wrong, but to celebrate in what's right. To celebrate what is the power within ourselves, to celebrate, to bring ourselves in love when we need it, to help each other in strength as we need it, as we move through this thing called life. Jesus taught the importance of community when he talked in Matthew 18:20. He said, for where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am with them. And it talks about the power of coming together in love and unity to create a positive and supportive community. So when I get invited to talk here at Unity of Hagerstown, or when I used to speak at Unity and NAPA when it was still around, it was that power of community of coming together that we knew that together we can embark change. And the main part of that was our strength to be able to do it and the love that we had. So let's remember the words of Eric Butterworth when he says, we do not change what we see, we change how we see it. And by viewing our challenges through the lens of love and strength, or as I say, the rosy-colored glasses, we can transform obstacles into opportunities of growth and healing. In times of difficulty, we can lean in our communities for support, knowing that together we are stronger. I don't always get the chance, but sometimes I go back to your archives and watch your senior minister give his lessons and the lessons I get from it. And maybe I'm not there physically, but in community, I get to hear him and all the other things. So let's take some personal time here as we're going to move toward the end of my lesson today. But at the end of the talk, I want to end with a story and some homework. See, when I came to Unity, I was taught that Unity was a teaching church or a teaching center. And one of the African-American ministers that I love is Reverend Galen McDowell from Christ Universal Temple. And for those who are not familiar with it, Christ Universal Temple was it was the church founded by Johnny Coleman, who was a Unity minister, and went on to create Christ Universal Temple and UBFL. And every talk he does, he gives a 21-day exercise to create a habit for the lesson. So I'm not going to give you a 21-day deadline, but we're going to take the steps later and use it for the month. So let's go ahead and get started. So with our story, once upon a time, a woman came out of her house and saw 3 old men with long white beards sitting in front of her yard. She did not recognize them, but she invited them into their home to have something to eat. She asked who they were. They said, we're 3 old friends, and we never go into the house together. But if you can choose, you can invite one of us. The woman was puzzled as she asked, who are you and what are your names? One of the old men answered, I am wealth. The second one answered, I am success. The third one answered, I am love. The woman was even more puzzled and asked, well, which one should I invite into the home? So she went inside and discussed it with her husband. And her husband said, well, let's bring in wealth. It'll bring in more riches and stuff into our home. And the woman said, no, let's invite success, because with success, we can build on everything else. But their daughter came in and disagreed and said, well, why don't we invite love? Because if we invite love into our home, Love is the greatest gift of all, and it will fill our house with love. So it finally came to agreement, and the woman's choice is she went out to invite love into their home. And as love started to walk toward the house, the other two old men, wealth and success, stood up and followed him in. The woman stood surprised. I only invited love. Why are you two both coming in? And the old man replied in unison, if you had invited wealth or success, the other two would have stayed outside. But since you invited love, wherever love goes, we go too. And for wherever there is love, there is also wealth and success. So let's take a personal reflection here for this month. And I'll copy these and put these into the chat if you guys are serious in taking this with you. But as we go into the month, let us begin by reflecting on a time when you experienced the power of strength and love in your life. How did these qualities help you and navigate a challenge or situation? How can you continue to cultivate strength and love in your daily interaction with others? Number 2 is to meditate on Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, what is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is an excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think of these things. I want you to go ahead and find something every day in your prayer practice, in your meditation practice, and say, for today, what can I find within my life which is true, which is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think of these things today. And in a nutshell, we're going to focus on what is good in our lives. Charles Fillmore, again, reminds us that when we talk about truth with a capital T, it's something that can be proven. So when we find that within our meditation practice, let's practice it into the world. As a song that I heard from another African-American center, Celebration Church, he wrote a song called Be Jesus, because you may be the only Jesus that someone can see today. And finally, choose your favorite book on the 12 powers of man. Everybody has their favorite. You know, there's Divine Audacity, there's a Resilience and Understanding, there's a bunch of 12 power books. Find your best one and read up on Strength and the Power of Love. And each book usually comes with some type of exercise. Choose something to do for the month and strengthen that power of strength and strengthen that power of love in your life this month. So again, the choice is yours to do your homework or not. But at the end of the time, the one who gets the best grade is the person that puts it into practice. And it's why we call it practical Christianity. So let's go ahead and take this into meditation. And if you feel so comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and take a deep breath in. I know we took in a lot today. And just release any angst that you may feel, knowing that you received gifts today. You got to celebrate love. You got to celebrate strength. You got to celebrate Black History Month and the examples in our lives, both present and past. And know that we are here to be part of the future. Take another deep breath in, knowing that strength and love will carry us into that future. There is no reason for anxiety at this moment. No matter what we perceive in this world, it is only our perception. And we change what we see by we change how we perceive it. Take another deep breath in with me in this gift of presence, knowing that this community here today, we are here in love. We can feel the love no matter our distance, no matter whether we're online and going through technology. We feel the love in this place, and I want you to feel that in your heart. Just breathe into that heart space of yours, knowing that today was a gift. Today's the gift of lesson, the gift of ideas, the gifts of leading. For as we know as a unity minister, my job is not to tell you what to do, but to lead you to find your own answers, your own path. And I hope I've done that for you today. And I am grateful for being here for you today. And I say we are grateful because we know that whatever it is in our hearts and our actions to express into this world, it's already done. Because we say it isn't so, it isn't so, we let it be. As we take one last deep breath and we say thank you. And we affirm this with an Ashe Somo Debi and an Amen. And if you feel comfortable, open your eyes. And I'm so grateful once again for being your guest speaker today. And I turn it back to April.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.